Hey everybody, welcome back. It is a beautiful spring day in Arizona today. I know some of you are freezing your asses off and without electricity in the US. I am sorry about that, but it is sunny and 70 here in Arizona. And springtime means outdoor work and vehicle work. This is my 98 Jeep Grand Cherokee. I have already done belts, hoses, heater hoses, upper and lower radiator hose, that kind of stuff, and I have another box of parts. But while I was working on it, I ran into a small problem. Let me show it to you. And I'm thinking maybe we can solve it with some 3D printing. That right up there, that you can see, that little silver tip of a rod, that is where the hood release handle went. Yeah, I broke it again. This is like the second time I've broke this thing. Oops, get my finger off the lens. This is the second time I've broken it. It is a really piss poor design. The end of that rod has a smaller diameter cut, about 3/16 of an inch wide and maybe 1/8 of an inch deep, and the plastic handle's molded over it. Now, here's an easy way to fix it. Pair of vice grips. Inelegant, but nonetheless, it's fixed, it's staying fixed. But you know what? I don't really like it. I could always break down and just put a new cable on it, because I think I bought 3 of them last time, because they do break every couple of years here, 2, 3, 4 years. And you can see the problem, I think, that the rod is up near the top where that plastic arm is, but you're pulling way down here, so you're always pulling at an angle on it. It sucks putting that thing in, and honestly, after doing the radiator hoses, I don't really want another sucky job on this. I could also go out to my little milling machine or my lathe, or the combination of the two, and I could whittle one out of that chunk of aluminum and just put some set screws to hold it into that little smaller diameter ring that's cut into it. But you know what? Let's see if we can design and 3D print something. I think that'd be more fun. I got a couple of ideas in mind. If not, I can always fall back to one of these other methods, probably the vice grips. But for now, let's pop into Fusion 360 and let's design something. Okay, so before I go any further, let me say that, yeah, I do know companies like Dorman and Help and probably a couple of others probably make a hood replacement knob, you know, a universal type of thing. For all you have to do is have the correct stock size. And you know what, if you don't like vice grips and you don't want to 3D print something or whittle something out of steel or aluminum, you can probably buy one of those for 12 or 15 bucks. I know they're made. I honestly haven't checked if there is one for this. But anyway, let's see what we can design here. So the first thing I want to do, and I came in and I did it, I came in to modify and change parameters, and I added some parameters in here. Now, I don't know if they're right. The only really thing I could measure was that metal stock and the clearance I have around it, that cut that's in it, that lower diameter cut. I know there's a name for that. Honestly, I knew what it was at one point in time, but I can't think of what it is. I've only had one cup of coffee today. Give me a break. So anyway, I got some parameters in here. So let's go to create a sketch. And you know, guys know I like creating my sketches on this top plane, because that way when I go to 3D print it, I don't have to rotate it in the slicer. So I'm going to create to make this easy on myself, a center diameter rectangle. And first off, I want, not first off, this will be second off, isn't it? I want you guys to know that, yes, I know there's an easier way to do this, but I'm trying to keep this straight in my brain, and that sometimes that's why I do things where it takes more steps than it should, because sometimes I tend to get out of whack if I don't. Anyway, that's my excuse and I'm sticking to it. So I am going to make this was handle width and tab, and this is going to be handle length, and enter will lock it in, and E to extrude, or Q to push pull. Oops, one more time. And we're going to come up, and the distance we're coming up is going to be handle thickness, or handle thick, I called it, and enter. So there's my T handle. Now what I need is I need the first part of my stock before the cut. And this is where this gets a wee bit tortuous. And I'm not sure I'm doing this the best way or even the right way. I'm just doing it the way that's making sense to me as I'm trying to keep these different sizes and things in my head. So I'm going to create a sketch, and I'm going to create it on this surface, and this is going to be a center diameter circle. And we're going to come out here. I called this stalk width, didn't I? Yes, I did. And enter. And now, this is where it gets interesting. I want to extrude this up, and I want to extrude it up. And if you wonder why I drag a little bit sometimes before I type things in, I'm just trying to establish whether it's an extrusion or a cut or a join or whatever. And because otherwise I have to remember to put the minus in, and I don't always do that if it's a cut. So then I screw up and I have to go back and fix it. So I called this stalk width. And oh, I'm not extruding it up stalk width, am I? I did stalk width. So let me go back. This is called, what did I call this? Something about cut. Cut from end, I think is what I called it. All right. Now, I need the hole in here to be the outer diameter of that rod, not where the cut is. So I'm going to create another sketch on this surface. I'm going to create another center diameter circle. And I'm going to call this something about rod OD. There it is. And I am going to E to extrude. I'm going to click on there. And now I'm coming down. And I'm coming down on this cut from end again. And you know what? I may add another couple millimeters into it just to make sure. So cut from end, and we can use mathematical formulas in here. So I'm going to say cut from end plus 2. And I took my minus out, didn't I? So you see, I wanted to cut, and I got rid of my minus, so I wound up getting an extrude. So I got to go put the minus back in. And so I should have negative cut from end plus 2, or should it be minus 2? Yeah, it needs to be minus 2. See, this is what I say. Sometimes it's hard to keep this stuff in your head. Okay, so this is where the excess of my rod is going to go. So now I need another sketch here. And another center diameter circle. Stay with me here. I think it's going to turn out. And I need to go stalk width again. Am I doing this right? Stalk width, enter. I need to go E to, I know there's a better way to do this. I'm just lacking the brain right now to think of how to do it. And I'm going to go E to extrude. We're going to extrude this. And we're going to come up. Yeah, we're going to come up. Cut depth. No, we're not. Cut OD. Cut OD. Cut depth is what I want, isn't it? Yes, it is. All right. Oh, you know what I needed to do? I needed to go, you know what, let's Control Z that back. And now I want to E to extrude. I'm going to do that. And I need to do this. Is that going to give me what I want? Cut OD. Nope, cut depth. Will that give me what I want? Enter. All right, let's see if that gave me what I want. Now, I want to create a sketch on this surface. I'm going to make another center diameter circle. And I am going to make this cut depth. Is that right? Cut OD. Cut OD is what I want. And enter. E to extrude, we're going to get that. And I can come down as much as I want because the hole below it is larger. It shouldn't affect it in any way. And say OK. Now what I'm going to do here, just to make sure that I've got what I want inside there, I'm going to say inspect, and I'm going to say section analysis, and I'm going to section it on this plane. And let's see if it looks like what I want in there. Haha, it does. Look at that. Okay, so that's what I want in there. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to extend it up, and I am going to give it another cut down to this hole except this diameter. Phew. Okay, let's turn off the section analysis for now. And where is it over here? We'll just say OK to that. I got to say OK to it. And now I can turn off my analysis there. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I am going to create another sketch here. You guys are laughing at me, I know it, but sometimes I got to do this in order to keep shit straight in my head. Once this is done, I can look at it and I can go, oh yeah, look, I could have done it this way and that way, but in the process, it just isn't always that easy for me. So I'm going to create another center diameter circle. I'm going to create it here, and I'm going to go out once again. I could just go out till I hit the edge and it would lock in, but let's call it stalk width and enter. And once again, now I could just pull it up. I don't have to make the center, but let's do it. And let's go E to extrude. Let's get that and that because I want to. I don't have to, but I want to. And we're going to come up this, and did I call this stalk length? Stalk length. I thought I gave it another stalk length, handle length. I have stalk length, stalk and handle. I thought I had another parameter for that. You know what? Let's escape out of that and let's go back in and look at my parameters. I thought I had a parameter for that. Stalk width. Let's add one in. I guess I forgot. I thought I did it. Maybe I didn't. Thought I did and didn't. So I'm going to click the plus to add a parameter. I'm going to call this stalk length after cut. I could make it something shorter and put a comment down here to tell me what it is, but I think that's good enough. Let's call this 15 millimeters. I have no idea what it should be. And the reason I don't use the same, see, I got 3 here that are 15. If I use the same parameter for all 2 and I only want to change one of these and I come back in and change it, it'll change all 3. Does that make sense? So I try and divide them out like that when I can. I know it makes it seem more complex than it needs to be, and I probably have a parameter or 2 in there I'm not even using. And I know that makes it difficult for anybody else who comes in after to look at it and see what the hell was that moron doing. Okay, so now we're going to go to E to extrude. We're going to do that. We're going to do that. And we're going to come up stalk length after cut. There we go. And enter. And now I need to make a sketch on this surface. And it's going to be a center diameter circle. And it's going to be not stalk. It's going to be rod OD. Right, rod OD. You know what? Do I even? Yes, I do. Yes, I do. Rod OD. Enter, and we are gonna E to extrude, and this is going to be a cut, and it's going to take that out anyway. But I'm going to put in. I want that parameter that I used. That was stalk length after cut. I want, and it needs to be a negative in front of it, so it's a cut and not an extrude, like that, and enter. And let's get my section analysis back up and let's see if I got what I want in there. I did get what I wanted in there. Okay, now you're asking yourself, Chuck, how in hell are you going to get this thing on without damaging it or destroying it? So I got 2 things in mind for that. One, I could just use plain cut and cut it in 2 pieces and glue it together. Put it on and glue it together. And I might try that. Or I can put 2 cuts in either side. I can heat it up, push it over, and I think what I would do if I did that, I would probably, and you know what, let's do that. I would probably come into this circle here, and I would put a chamfer on that so to better make it able to push over. Let's try that. Modify and chamfer, and let's put a chamfer right here. And let's zoom in and let's see how big a chamfer we need for that. Is that going to do what I want it to do? It should. 0.5, You mathematicians are laughing at me saying, Chuck, you could do math and know what that is. And I'm saying, yes, I know. My dad's rolling over in his grave. 8. Um, 8 would probably be good, but it still leaves me a little bit of a lip. Let's try 9. 9 looks perfect, doesn't it? Okay, let's try 9.5. See if we can get rid of the rest of that lip. We did! 9.5. Okay. Now, when I go, did I do that the right way? Yes, I did. Now when I go to push this on, it should spread apart if I put cuts in the sides of it. And I'm going to have to heat it up, of course. And then I can use like a small wire tie to put that together. The other thing that I could do is I could put holes in the sides. I could make this the larger size all the way up and down and put holes and inserts with set screws in it, probably like the aftermarket ones are. But let's try this for now because I think that will be more fun. Let's turn our section analysis off. And let's put some fillets in it because it looks sucky like this. So I am going to put a fillet in. Let's put a fillet in here, 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 here. In fact, let's fillet all these edges just for the hell of it. All these corners. Probably zoom out a little bit, make it easier. Oops, didn't do that, wanted that. I need to undo this one. Okay. And you can hold control. If you accidentally click on the wrong one, you can hold control down and click it again to remove it. Okay, I should have the entire, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I should have 8 in there, right? It doesn't tell you anymore. It used to, 12. Yeah, that's right. Okay. And we're going to fillet that. And you know what? I want to fillet this as well. I might not be able to do it that way. Let's come in and let's try it this way first. So let's say 3. Oh, 3 turned out pretty good, didn't it? I like 3. Oh, I may take this one. I don't know. Let's try it. Let's say okay to that. And let's do fillet again, and let's try fillet on. Oh, you know what? I need to put my cuts in first, don't I? Or do I? I don't think it matters because I'm going to put my cuts in. It doesn't really matter how I put my cuts. Sorry, my headset turned off for some reason since it didn't hear any sound being played. It has a timeout on it. So hopefully I heard it in time. So what I need to do is I need now to put cuts in the side so I can push this over. And let me think about how I'm going to do that for a minute. I think I'm going to need 2 offset planes. So let's do that. Plane, offset plane. And I am going to, you know what? Could I just do it on the plane that's in there? I bet I could. I bet I could. I don't think I need an offset plane. So let's show our origin so I can see the planes I want to work with. And let's draw. I don't know whether this is going to work or not. This may not work. Let's try it anyway. Let's draw a sketch on this plane. See if it'll let me get to it. Sometimes it's a pain in the butt. And I want to make a center. I could use another section analysis for this as well, and that might be easier, but let's see if I can get away with this. You know what? Let's just do that. That'll make it easier. Let's make another section analysis. So section analysis, we're going to section off this one here and zoom back out where we can see it. Oh, why did it do that? I didn't want to do that. Let's cancel that. Let's get rid of that. I want to make it on this one, right? There we go. That's what I wanted. And we're going to say OK to that. And I want to turn this analysis on, but it's not showing it to me, is it? How interesting. Oh, I see. I got them turned off up there. Okay, that's what I wanted. That's what I wanted. So now I need a sketch. And why am I not on the right? Let's say finish sketch. I want to get rid of this last sketch. Let's delete that sketch. Let's make a new sketch. I should be able to get right to it now. So create a sketch. I want to create it on that plane, right? Right, and I want to create a 2-point rectangle, and it doesn't really matter where it is. Am I in the right place? I am in the right place. Amazing. I want to create a 2-point rectangle, and I am going to make it. Can I lock into that? Because that's how I'd like to do it. It's not going to let me do that, is it? I want to make it from there. I may just guess at this because I honestly don't think it's all that going to be all that critical. It isn't going to be all that critical. I want to make it from there to there. I am going to drag the ends down right to, you know what, let's go all the way down with it. Let's go all the way down to there. I was only going to go to that cut, but let's go all the way down with it. Let's spin it around and let's see. You know what? I think that's going to be fine. I'm not going to overthink this. I'm going to go E to extrude. I'm going to click on this, and I am going to make this a cut that way. And I don't want to be past the end of that handle, do I? I don't really want to be too far past that because I don't want to go too deep into my handle. So 7, let's try 8. What happened? That was 6, not 8, Chuck. 8. 8's too much. How about 7.5? Sometimes I just do this stuff just by the seat of my pants. What do we got? We got something wrong there. 7.5 is still too much. Let's try 7.2. I don't think 7.2 is coming through it. No, it's not. 3. I'm going to be back at 7.5, aren't I? 7.4, I'm going to be back at 7.5. Now, is that really what I want? That's an awful thick cut. My goodness, that's an awful thick cut. I don't think that's what I want. I think that cut's way too thick. Let's cancel that. 7.5 was the right number, and of course it should have been because it was 15 millimeters, dummy. Let's make this smaller. Let's make this a lot smaller. Because the only reason this cut is here is so it can spread out. It doesn't need to be super thick. And again, I'm just going by the seat of my pants here. The seat of my pants likes that. Although I think the bottom might be down too far. No, it's not. All right, so let's do this again. Let's go Q to push pull or E to extrude. I don't think it matters here. And I am going to go symmetric because I want it to come through both sides. I am going to go there, and I am going to come 7.5. And I didn't get it all what I wanted because it says 0.5. Okay, what happened to my 7? 7. There we go. Okay, let's say okay to that. And let's see what that looks like. And let's turn off my analysis. Okay. All right. And to make it easy to get it started, let's also put a fillet. Let's turn my origin off. I don't need to see that. Origin right there. All right, so I also want to put a fillet here to make it easy to get that started. I've also thought about putting a ring in it for wire ties to fit in, but you know what? Let's get the proof of concept done before we do too many refinements. I want to add a fillet here and here. Come on, there and there. Why is it only letting me do one? Am I not doing fillet? Let's try F again for fillet. Did I miss it? There we go. I must have missed it. There and there. Let's call it 1 millimeter. That's just going to be to make it easy to get it started over the rod. Can I make it 2? Let's try. If 1 is good, 2 might be better. 2. I like 2. 2 looks good. Okay, now I also want to put a fillet down here to try and make that stronger. I don't know whether that's going to make a difference or not, but let's try it. Let's go F for fillet. Let's go here and here, and this fillet down here may be too big. Let's try 3 and let's see what I get. I like that. That looks good, doesn't it? Okay, so there we are. Let's turn my other section analysis on, and let's look at the inside of it. Oh, and I also just noticed that my fillets didn't come out the same on both sides. Look at that. I wonder why that happened. Let's get rid of that fillet and let's do it over again and let's see what happened. It's not really going to affect my proof of concept here, but I just want to know why it did it. So let's say delete to that fillet, and my cuts were symmetrical. It should be completely the same from side to side. So let's do F for fillet again. Let's fill it over here. I think what happened was I got it inside of one of those rings. Nope, it's still doing that. Isn't that weird? Let's change the 3 to a 2. Okay, now they're the same. I think I'm going to leave it like that. I don't know why it's doing that, but I want it to be the same on both sides. So we're going to leave it like that for now. Okay, now another thing that just came to mind is how the hell am I going to print this? What orientation am I going to print this in? If I print it like this, I'm going to need support in here, and how the heck am I going to get that support out once it's done? Otherwise, this lip is not going to be sharp, and that lip is what's going to make this whole thing work. If I print it on its side, then I'm going to need support for the top of this circle. And again, how am I going to get that out of there? That's not going to be fun. If I print it like that, I'm going to need support up here. And how am I going to get that out? In other words, I won't. So I've got a real problem here with how I'm going to print this. There doesn't really seem to be any good way to do it. So I may be back to doing this in 2 pieces again, which once more is something I didn't really want to do. Or what I might be able to do, I might be able to fillet this or chamfer this heavily so that it comes to a point up here inside of there. That would let me print it in this orientation, because this down here should print without support. And then I can have support out here for the sides of the handle. I think that's what I'm going to have to do. So let me do that. Let me get back to you. I don't know how I'm going to do that yet. I might just be able to make that deeper. I think that's what I'll probably do, is make this cut deeper. Let's do that. Let's create a sketch on this surface here, and let's make it a center diameter circle. So from there, I'm just going to go till it locks into that outside edge, and I'm going to say E to extrude, and let's cut this up, say another, I don't want to weaken it too much. Let's cut it up another 3 millimeters. Let's say enter. And now let's chamfer. Let's modify and chamfer. And let's chamfer this edge in here. And let's pull it down till we darn near have a point. that I won't need support. So 2.5 maybe, 2.5. Let's zoom in so we can see, because I wanted that to come to a complete point. Let's try 2.7. I could take that, I could take the size of that hole and I could just divide it in two, but I don't remember what it is. 2.75 maybe. 2.75, I like 2.75. Let's say okay. Now, will that print? I'm gonna go with it, and I'm gonna see if that won't print in this orientation. I'll have to have support on the outside. Boy, I could come in like that and do away with the support completely. Do I really want to do that? I don't know that I really want to do that. I think for now I'm just going to put the support in. All right, let's print this. Okay, so I printed one, and here's the result. And as you can see, it printed beautifully. If I shine a light down in there, you can see some of the internals of it. It printed beautifully, but with a single problem. I squeezed it slightly, and can you see it there? I squeezed it, and it snapped right at the layer line right there. See if I can get the camera to focus. It snapped right there. So printing it in that orientation or that orientation isn't going to work. It's going to have to be printed like that. The layer lines really need to be this way and not this way, because otherwise it's just going to break when you pull on it. And I kind of expected that. I was just hoping it would last long enough to have some type of comical failure when I tried to put it on or I tried to use it the first time, but no such luck. It's not even going to hold up that long. So I'm going to pop back into Fusion. I am going to take out that one fillet on the inside, and then I'm going to plane cut it in half, and then we'll print it in halves, and we'll see what that looks like. So let's pop back into Fusion. Only take a second or two. Okay, so here is our part, and I want to get rid of this chamfer right here. And you know what? I'm going to get rid of this one down here too, because it's got no purpose of being there anymore. So that was the last one, so I'm just going to right click it down here in the history and delete. And then I'm going to find this one up here, and that's one of these two, I think. That one or that one. There it is right there. Going to right click it, going to delete. And now I need to split it. So let's go up here to the splitting tool, and there is a split face. And you know what? Let's just, for sport and amusement, let's turn off the section analysis, and let's go to modify and split face. Up, I didn't want split face. I wanted split body, didn't I? I did. Modify split body, and I want to split this body. And splitting tool, I want to select this plane here. You can see it right there in the middle. I could go back to my section analysis, but I can also either try and zoom in till it will let me select that plane, or I can just come up here to origin and I can find that plane right there. I can find it right there. I want to split right down the middle like that and say okay. And now I have two separate pieces instead of just one. So I have section 1, and I want to move it. Or I can do show hide. Should be able to do show hide, right? That's my section analysis, not my bodies. Here we go, bodies. So now I can move my bodies, I think. It might not let me do it. Won't let me do it. Move copy. Here we go. Okay, so there we go. I now have two separate bodies. And I think that's fine for me. I'm just going to say okay to that move. And you can see the insides of them and all that. So I'm going to print these. I'm going to save these both as STLs and save as STL. And I'm going to save these both as STLs. I'm going to go back into the slicer and I'm going to print these laying flat on their side, and then we'll try again. Okay, so I printed a quick test piece, and you really don't need both sides of this. One is sufficient, and just duplicate it in the slicer. So I printed a couple of quick test pieces, and I noticed some changes I need to make. One, that cut that I put in to allow it to spread, that needs to come out. So we're going to find that extrusion, which is right here. I'm going to delete the extrusion, and it's going to warn me that it's referenced future in the timeline, but I don't care. I'm going to delete it, and I'm also going to delete that sketch because I don't need that sketch there. Let's make sure I got the right sketch here. And I think that's it. And delete. Okay, now another thing is my distance from the top of this recess up to here is too big. I don't have that much stock sticking out. I guessed and I guessed wrong, so I need to shorten that by 5 millimeters. So modify, change parameters, and that's the one I called stock length after cut. Let's move this over here so you can see the change. Stock length after cut, and we're going to change that 15 to 10. And while I had it, I printed two pieces, I hopefully thought it would work. And then when it was done, I saw that the length was too long and that I'd left that slot in there. I did get a chance to test this cut. I just chopped the end of one of them off and to test the width and depth of this cut, and it seems fine. Or this recess projection, whatever you want to call it, and it seems fine. So, like I said, you only really have to only really have to export one as an STL and just duplicate it in the slicer. Be back with hopefully the finished product. So here is the final part. There's some of my earlier failures. There's another one or two floating around. But here is the final part. I printed it out of the clear ABS because that was what was in the machine. I could have used PLA, but PETG, but it wasn't loaded in any of the machines. And this is just one side of it, and I duplicated it in the slicer. You can't really see that well, yeah, you can, I guess, in there, that locks into the low spot in the shaft. And I cleaned it up a little bit so it fits together nicer. And because it's kind of fiddly to get it in place, I think I'm going to use JB Weld. I was first thinking of Gorilla Hot Glue, but I think I'm going to use JB Weld because I don't think I can get it put on fast enough and get it in place and tied where I want it in order to use hot glue. So I'm going to use JB Weld. I'll use a wire tie around the circular area and probably put a big spring clamp on the back end of it to hold it till the glue dries. It is just going on 11 o'clock on Saturday. I've got some real work to do, so I'm going to run out. And then I will come back and put this thing on and tie it up, and we'll be back tomorrow and check it out and see what it looks like. And maybe I'll get that comical failure that I'm hoping to get, or hey, it might even work. Who knows? See you soon. Okay, so the two-piece part was a complete and utter failure, not because I don't think it would have worked, because it's the location it's in and how awkward it is to get to it just made it impossible for me to get it glued up in there without making a complete and total hash of it. So it wound up falling down inside the kick panel, and that's where it's going to remain until the vehicle winds up at a junkyard and somebody goes to get the kick panel and says, what the hell is this thing? All right, so here's the next version. In this next version, knowing that I have to print it in this orientation and knowing that I'm going to have trouble getting any support out of it, and knowing that I can't make it two pieces, I have made it one piece again, and I have put, and let me turn on my section here, I have put my chamfer back in here so it can be pushed over and spread. Like I say, I'm probably going to have to heat it a bit, although I'm making it out of ABS now, and ABS is pretty forgiving. And again, I'm going to glue it in place and probably put a strap around it, a wire tie around it to hold the pieces in place. But I've also put a 2mm cut that goes through the top and the bottom. Hopefully that will allow me to get any support out of it that gets put in there. or maybe not need support at all. I may try one of each, one with support and one without, but that is my next attempt. Let's turn the analysis back off. There we go. That is my next attempt. That's what I'm going for. So I'm going to print this, and maybe I'll finally get that comical and catastrophic failure that I'm looking for. Okay, so here's the final finished part. You can see I made the cuts in it this way. It printed in this orientation with no support. Those cuts allowed it to print with no support. It might have printed anyway without no support, but I needed the cuts there anyway in order to force it over the knob, over the rod. And I'm going to use the little hot air gun on my soldering station at 200C to heat it up. 200C is low enough that I can't really get myself in trouble with it, but a decent application of it does make this pretty soft. So we're going to go with that, and I'm going to go put it on with some JB Weld, and we'll come back and see how it works. Okay, here we go. Can you see that? It's actually been on longer than just one day. It's actually been 3 or 4 days. I've just been so busy I haven't gotten back to it, so let's give it a shot. Maybe we'll get that comic failure I keep mentioning. Oh my God, it opened the hood. Let's go close it and try it again. I'll give you a hood shot this time. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Worked again. One more shot, just for sport and amusement, and then we'll call it good. On the count of 3, 1, 2, 3. Yes, I could have cleaned the bird shit out. 3. Works, I'll be damned. Okay, so there you have it. This silly thing actually worked. This was completely stupid and ridiculous, but there you have it. So, please like and subscribe, hit notifications, all that good stuff, and I'll catch you guys back on the next time.